Why do we call things terrible when we know that there will be those who disagree? When we know that it is just one opinion in billions, completely subject to change? Of course, reviews are supposed to reflect individual experiences, but at the same time there's this attempt to definitively classify things as good and bad for everyone. There are those who say that they respect the opinions of others, and that people are allowed to like whatever they want, then complain when something that they don't like gets positive reviews, or wins an award, or hate something even more when a lot of people like it. We're supposed to be the good guys. If we don't respect other people's opinions, then why should anyone respect ours? Entertainment is subjective after all, a lot more subjective than many people seem to realize. A lot of people simply want the things they like to have good reputations in order to get more of the same, while many critics want just the opposite. Perhaps calling things terrible is a necessary evil in the quest to better the overall quality of media. But then, is it really that necessary? Does the system need improvement? Perhaps I should make a video on this topic. Yes, I can see it now. The title shall be, I Hate Critics and You Should Too. Not because I hate critics, considering that I more or less am one, but rather to make a parallel to a general mentality in which we hate something and believe that others should too. The video will be in-depth, look at things from a new perspective, have random Doctor Who references for no reason, but most of all, it will be pretentious. The bitter truth we critics must face is that in the grand scheme of things, the average piece of junk is probably more meaningful than our criticism designating it so. That's a quote by T.E. Lawrence, I think. Criticism is a funny thing. Sometimes whether or not a general consensus is positive or negative feels completely up to chance to me. Is that testament to how we critics are doing something wrong, or does it just show how entertainment is so very subjective? Sometimes we agree with others, sometimes we don't. I like Jaws 4. I've known a person whose favorite movie was After Earth, and I've known people who love Ultimate Spider-Man. What if I tried something else? Maybe I should look at things from a different perspective for once. I'll review Ultimate Spider-Man, once again, without calling it bad. Season 3 is on Netflix. Only Season 3. Perfect. And so it began. As I watched those first few episodes, I felt something inside of me changing. I saw that the show did have some ideas that I believed to be creative and unique, and that there were fewer fourth wall breaks than before. Perhaps I was too hard on the series. You know, I actually think that it's improved. What is this? Who made this? Why? I do like the animation. Some of the character designs are interesting, to say the least, but most of them translate well to the screen. The characters may not move with the same fluidity as in Spectacular Spider-Man, but I do like the style of the series. The storyline has been enjoyable so far, however it doesn't seem to be as in-depth as it was a few years ago. The tone does seem more consistent, with fewer serious moments mixed with goofy fourth wall breaks. However, it also seems like there's more focus on action, and less on characters living their normal civilian lives. But maybe that's just me. Peter Parker still acts like Johnny Test. Peter Parker isn't Johnny Test. On to the next episode. What's this? A Halloween special? Well, Halloween wasn't too long ago, and I'm still feeling in the spirit. I'll save the best for last. After watching a Christmas special with some cool ideas, but which I can't really remember, it was time to move on to a 4-part arc based on the Spider-Verse story from the comic books. I don't think it has anything to do with that story, but maybe it'll be good. That's when it happened. I was blown away. The creators of the show were actually using 3D animation in Spider-Man 2099's world. Maybe they're trying harder with it than I previously thought. Before now, it felt like references to obscure storylines were just there for the sake of having references to obscure storylines. But maybe they actually did their research. Maybe they really do care about the series. I can't wait to see what's next! For the rest of the arc, they just used the normal animation, sometimes with a different color filter. Then there's this, which is something, I guess. I was hoping for more, but that arc was alright. Next up, there are some stories that expand on the idea of Spider-Man having a team to work with. Most of the stories are fairly standard, but I do like the relationships that get built between the characters, especially the one involving interactions between Venom and Rhino, as I don't think they've done anything quite like this in other versions. Finally, there's another 4-part arc called Contest of Champions. It's really just made up of things we've seen before. Spider-Man fights people, villain is unstoppable, then there's a big plot development that gets thrown in out of nowhere. Overall, I do think that the series has improved. May not be my favorite incarnation of Spider-Man, but I can understand why some people like it so much. The excuse that something just isn't for you is a fairly weak defense of one's opinion. But in a way, it perfectly sums up why I don't care that much for the series. Many of the things that I like about all the different versions are simply absent in this one, especially when it comes to the personalities of the characters. I just don't find most of the cast all that likable. For all intents and purposes, it is Spider-Man, but it's not my Spider-Man. I did it! I actually reviewed Ultimate Spider-Man without calling it terrible! I'm still alive. Remember Jessie? That Disney sitcom starring Debbie Ryan? Here it is, in all its animated glory. Ultimate Spider-Man teams up with Jessie. Let me say it again. Ultimate Spider-Man teamed up with Spider-Man. I could call Ultimate Spider-Man a terrible, inadequate piece of garbage if I wanted to, but truthfully, I don't. That's actually not how I feel about it. Not anymore. Even just calling it overrated is somewhat ignorant. I see now that someone can always find something that they consider to be good, something to enjoy. And I have found things to enjoy in Ultimate Spider-Man. Even if I take issue with many other things. The show will apparently be ending after Season 4. Am I happy? Not necessarily. I know that if I begged for the show to be cancelled, then it wouldn't be fair to the people who want it to continue. Criticism is all about perspective, changing perspective. Who's right? Who's wrong? Answer: you're asking the wrong questions. If you like Ultimate Spider-Man, I completely understand why. If you think that it's the greatest cartoon ever made, if you love the series, then I'm not going to tell you anything different, because I do respect your opinion. Maybe for the first time. This video is too pretentious. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Then in a few years I'll look back and decide to give it a 7.4 out of 10.